Hello, everybody. Welcome to 321 No Kiddin. Bobby the Awesome here. And today I have with me Mr. Shai Tubali. I'm so intimidated. Repeat it for me.
Shai Tubali. That's perfectly understandable.
Yes, practice makes perfect. Well, welcome to 321, Shai. How are you?
Thank you. I'm so happy being here with you today.
I'm very interested in having someone of your caliber go deep on these topics with me. So I'm really looking forward to this interview. But before I dig into picking your brain, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little about yourself?
Of course, I will try to somehow explain it all together, put it all together, all the different components, because I do various things. I would say generally that I'm a researcher of consciousness, a researcher of the human mind, the mind's ability to be either a source of suffering or a source of freedom and happiness. And I do this as both a spiritual teacher and practitioner and an academic philosopher. I've published many books in the field of Eastern philosophy and practice, self-transformation, and I've also developed several psycho-spiritual or meditation-based methods for transformation and therapy. So I've been teaching in Europe and throughout the world since the year 2000. And I would say that my main interest or passion is to demonstrate the way meditative states can influence our ability to say yes to life's challenges. That's the passion.
Say that again, to use meditation to give us the ability.
Yes, how we can use the meditative states, higher states of consciousness, in order to influence our ability to say yes to life's challenges, to embrace life, and to make better decisions, to heal our traumas, and so on.
Love it. This is so important, like really, really important. And the thing that I wrote down as you were introducing yourself that I think is so important is you said we can use our mind for suffering or for freedom. And I think that in the addiction space and people who have compulsive behaviors, we use it for suffering a lot of the time. And I would equate freedom to recovery. Do you think that's accurate?
Yes, super recovery, because freedom takes us even beyond recovery. This means that we're not only recovering or feeling okay or relieving ourselves of suffering, but we're also finding a higher form of happiness.
Wow, I love this. Why did you get started on this mission?
This was in the year 2000. It was after having my own personal discoveries in the field of meditation. I simply discovered what meditation can do to your happiness, sense of unconditional freedom, love, and joy.
We've all heard that, right? Like a lot of people say that. So
yes.
Is it too personal to ask you what that looked like what maybe your before and after was, or what your results were, or what you did to get the results? Do you mind diving into that?
Well, yes, of course. I think that the main transformation could be described as a feeling of becoming quite available, because usually our mind is so terribly occupied with so many inner conflicts, self-judgment, fears, anxieties, worries, control, efforts to control reality, and so on and so on. And nowadays I term this the thinking machine, and perhaps we will explore this term and what it implies also in relation to addictions. But then I would say that the main transformation has been that the mind has become, well, would I say, simply silent. You see, relaxed, without fear of existential tension, without this need to constantly search for different forms of happiness, without this inner dissatisfaction that we tend to experience, and certainly without addictions and obsessions and compulsive thoughts.
Wow. I would love that. I would love to have that. So I've heard people praise meditation before and talk about it. And like, I understand it's not instant gratification, right? Like you can't just meditate one day and have a clear mind, correct?
Correct. You can have a clear mind for some time, but after the experience fades out, then you are back to your normal functioning of your mind.
Okay. So what would you have, I think 35 plus meditations that you created or that you've shared in your books. Is that true?
No, that I've compiled. These are classical meditations from all across the globe. Classical meditations deriving from different traditions around the world.
Oh, beautiful. Even better, because it's not one size fits all, is it?
Exactly, because we need to, one of the rules of meditation is never just look for the meditation that is most popular, that everyone practices, or that the tradition that you happen to encounter on your way tells you that this is the ultimate form of meditation. You have to experiment, you have to feel adventurous, and to try out different types of meditations until you find those that are the easiest, most natural for you.
Now, how do you know if you're doing it right?
How do you know that you're doing it right? Well, it's very important, first of all, not to have this kind of expectation that you'll immediately experience silence and satisfaction and contentment, because we always have this expectation that we will sit for meditation and we will experience silence, relaxation. This doesn't always happen. Actually, and unfortunately, but for good reasons, the first thing that happens to you when you begin to embark on the journey of meditation is that you discover that your mind is, you are becoming aware of the fact that your mind is really noisy. You see? Because suddenly all this undercurrent activity that influences your moods, your wrong choices in life, your surface anxieties, suddenly all this activity, these unconscious thoughts that whisper in your ear constantly all day long, it is revealed. So now you have to somehow become aware of this activity, and you have to learn how to disengage from it slowly but surely, you see? And you can do it, but we need to understand meditation is, first of all, learning to understand how your mind works. So that is why meditation is sometimes filled with pitfalls and obstacles. But when I understand that these pitfalls and obstacles are a part of my meditative practice, then I embrace these experiences with joy and with curiosity.
Oh, so you're kind of stopping the resistance. If you understand they're part of it, you're stopping the resistance.
Exactly, because we're thinking, oh, now I'm having a terribly noisy mind. This means that I'm resisting and struggling with my meditation. But what if I stop resisting the resistance? You see, no longer resistance, only a part of you including it as a part of your practice. Now, this is one of the deepest laws of meditation. Meditation tells you, don't resist anything. Stop reacting to your thoughts, stop reacting to your emotions, because that only complicates things. What happens, think of it, for instance, I sit for meditation and I have these feelings, these thoughts about the future. And this is natural because I'm so used to organizing my life ahead that I'm simply unable to stop this kind of, well, completely redundant activity. So now I realize that these are my thoughts, but then I begin to react to them, which means I try to stop them, or I try to suppress them, or I try to become silent. What happens as a result is that I divide myself, I split myself into two: the silencer of my thoughts, and then that's it. I'm trapped in some mental conflict. So in meditation, you learn to observe without reaction. That's the first learning of meditation. And later you learn how to observe life without reaction, how to observe difficulties without immediately withdrawing or contracting or trying to make it stop.
Wow. You said a lot of good things in there. So we just sit with the thoughts, is what you're saying, that when we're in meditation, we just let them be there. Just let them be.
Okay. Yes. Sometimes perhaps they say in tradition, when you have a certain thought, it is, you can generalize it. For instance, instead of looking into the nature of your anger and trying to analyze it, you simply label it: anger, desire, dissatisfaction, and that is all. So this diminishes your struggle.
I love that. Yeah, you said this to me right now is like a really big deal. If we learn to not react to those thoughts in our mind, I think I heard you say that practice will help us not react in life to the things that are going around us. That sounds like the secret to success in work, in addiction, in everything. Because if we're not reacting or triggered, right? Like that's the in the world of addiction word, triggered. If you're not reacting and triggered, then you can almost cure yourself from addiction.
Yes, exactly, because you don't have to let your thoughts and emotions color your reality. So you see, you're starting to practice this in meditation. Now, what happens when there are certain unpleasant situations and even states of weaknesses from which on the basis of which we often develop all kinds of addictions, right? Because we wish to escape these states of weakness, states of disappointment or frustration. So we try to compensate for these states. Now, what happens if I learn exactly as I do in meditation? I learn to be with even an unpleasant thought or an unpleasant emotion or an unpleasant situation, but this time I do not escape. I learn how to make friends with sensations, emotions, thoughts, and later with situations.
Wow, that's like blowing my mind. So how does one, I kind of bounced all around. So
Sure.
So if I'm a person listening to this show,
right,
and I'm like, I want to crack this code, I want to do this for me.
Yes.
So they go, maybe they get your book, maybe they YouTube, they find a meditation. They have to try different ones to find the one that they're connecting.
Right. Yes.
Then they go through this process of practicing the practice, I presume, right? Like you have to practice. Like first, for me, through my journey, just to know that I'm acknowledging has become its own little practice. Like I get very proud of myself when I could be the observer, right? So like I could be meditating and having these thoughts, but not notice that I'm having these thoughts and just be reacting to these thoughts.
Exactly. Yes, that's very well said. Yes.
So how does someone get conscious of being the observer, or how do they know they're not observing? How do they even know this is a thing? Like maybe we get them questioning that this is a thing because we're having this conversation. So like, where do they start with that?
Well, I would start by practicing not a specific technique, but just sitting with myself and for some time sit and invite all thoughts and emotions to arise and to show themselves to me, like really fearlessly sitting and saying, okay, now I want to get in touch, to encounter finally all these uncurrent thoughts and emotions that hide in the dark of my being, you see, and then to begin to just notice them. This can be with closed eyes for 10 minutes, just 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and then practicing not reacting to a certain thought, you see, because when you're not reacting, you're becoming the observer. That's the thing. There is a certain law in meditation that I call the law of attention, not the law of attraction. The well-known law of attraction, this is different. And the law of attention tells you there are two elements in your mind. One is attention. You are paying attention, right? You illuminate everything that you're paying attention to through your attention, through your awareness. And then there are all those thoughts and emotions and sensations you're aware of. Now, our tragedy is that the two have become one. Now we cannot separate anymore, and we cannot make even choices of whether to identify with a certain thought, emotions, or sensation. You see? So if I stop reacting, I'm becoming aware of the content, but I'm not involving myself in it. This makes me finally step back. And this stepping back is meditation. You see? Without learning any technique, you don't need to learn any technique. So now you are, I don't know, sitting on a bus station. Now you're waiting for the bus is late, and then there is anger. So now you can be aware of the anger, you can be aware of the fact that the bus is late, but not react to the anger and not react to the fact that the bus is late. You see? So this keeps you in some kind of puts you in some kind of a standstill, some kind of a silent space that doesn't move, that is not changing as a result of the situation, the thought that remains unshaped. This is meditation.
I have a lot of work to do, clearly, because as you're speaking, I'm hearing the different things that, that I get angry or have feelings about. And in reflection, I know my behavior is definitely reaction, and that's not something I'm very proud of.
Yes, but that's exactly it, because suddenly you're starting to be aware of the fact that these are just reactions. This is the beginning. You don't have to immediately eliminate all these reactions. It's enough to just be able to say to yourself, oh, now this is just reactions, just a reaction. This is the beginning of self-responsibility. You see, you stop mixing the situations and your reactions as if they were just one event.
Oof.
Right?
Yes. Wow. Okay. I'd like to take a step back. You
Please.
said the way I heard it, or I think it was implied, was at one point we used to be able to separate the two. And now you said that they're like commingled, our thoughts and our reactions, and we can't separate them. What causes this to happen? Why do you think we are this way?
Oh, why we are so heavily identified with our thoughts and feelings?
Yes.
Well, I think we haven't been educated at all or taught to tell the difference. As a result, you see, it's just a habit of the mind that whatever that whatever thought or emotion we have is something that is us. You see, we are our thoughts. I think this is the source of illusion. We think that we are our thoughts, emotions, and sensations.
And we're not.
So, no, not at all. We are actually the observers of this gushing river of thoughts, emotions, and sensations. We stand on the bank, you see, watching everything, and we get to choose whether to pick up this emotion or this sensation and to embrace them as ourselves. Now, the law of attention tells you as soon as you embrace something as yourself, you become it. Now, think of the implications in terms of addiction or obsessive thought, because if you embrace a thought, giving it your power of mind, your power of attention, giving it a meaning and importance, eventually, sooner or later, it becomes a monster. Because you have nourished it so much through your attention that now you cannot escape it. So suddenly I feel that there is a certain emotional pattern or mental pattern that it takes over me. You see, I think I am completely powerless. What can I do? This is the pattern, and it has a certain a power over me. But this is not true. At the very beginning, I had the power. I gave it power. I decided that this would be my, let's say, my preferred form of escape. So by nourishing it, now it's a monster. And this is when we begin to feel completely overpowered by our own mind. That's why we need meditation so desperately.
Wow. So the thoughts and feelings are like a bully. They're trying to take over. Right.
No, they're not a bully at all. They are completely innocent. They are completely powerless and empty of meaning. You make them powerful. You make them a bully, you see? Now, when you realize, I don't have to give power to this thought. I have the power to give it meaning and significance. This power away. This is your key to freedom.
If we can control the feelings and be the observer of the what I'll call negative feelings, does this mean that if we meditate, do we lose our relationship with things like joy and happiness and fulfillment, or where do those feelings go?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. You see, there are two different types of beautiful feelings. There is one type of feeling that it depends, positive feelings, I am saying, blissful feelings, happy feelings. The first type is what we can call caused feelings, and these are triggered by our environment, by stimuli, by certain feedback that we receive or situations, right? Someone says a good word about me, compliments me, and I feel elevated. So I'm happy. But this can also be taken away from me, right? The very same person can now be disappointed in me, and what will I do now? Then I begin to demand forcefully this attention, this recognition, and this positive feedback because I want to feel that feeling. So that's the downside of this type of feeling, you see? On the other hand, exactly. On the other hand, there are internal feelings. These are self-generated, and this is actually wonderful because when you begin to be silent, you're realizing that you're starting to be flooded with certain positive emotions that have nothing to do with your environment, that cannot be taken away from you, that are self-generated. For example, unconditional love or joy or contentment or fullness. So all these feelings are suddenly yours, you see? And this is also a part of your freedom because now you know that you have this place inside you where you can find these feelings. Now you're beginning to develop a more mature and healthy relationship with your environment because you no longer demand anyone to give you that. You see?
I do see, and I look for themes, right? I talk to a lot of guests. I read a lot of books. I listen to the gurus. And one of the themes, whether I'm studying intuition or business, is
Yes.
take responsibility for my own actions, right? Like to not be the victim. And that's something that's been, I have some consciousness about it, and I try to live that way. Again, it's a work in progress, right? And it sounds like this is the cure for victimhood too, is you meditate and you get to those good feelings and you get to this heightened state, and then you control that. Like it's taking responsibility on a whole other level.
Exactly, because now you're learning to discover one of the secret powers of meditation is this unconditional, uncaused feelings. This is, I think, the greatest discovery ever, because now, for instance, think of how we are constantly and desperately looking for a partner because we're experiencing ourselves as half. You see, as we are only one half, and we are looking for our complementary half, this kind of, the one that will make us feel finally complete and at home. Now, what happens if you suddenly realize that you are your own lost half, you see? You find it within yourself. Now you experience this wholeness and you're feeling at home. So now this doesn't mean that you will never enter a relationship. It only means that you will never look desperately for relationships, and that you will finally not put all these completely unrealistic expectation on the poor fellow's shoulders, you see, because they can't give us that. They're not meant to give us this unconditional, unbroken feeling of being at home.
Yes, I've always embraced the concept of our partner should complement us, not complete us. And the way you just broke it down, I really connected with the two halves. So how does, like, everybody's busy, everybody has, like, who has time for meditation and to do all this stuff? We're consumed, right? Like our screen time is 12 hours in a day, but we don't have time to meditate. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, that's a very good point, because we say that we are too busy. But first of all, to find 5 minutes for meditation, because recent research has shown that even 5 minutes a day can actually increase our ability to cope with emotions and significantly reduce our stress. But how come even for just these 5 minutes, we don't find the time, while of course checking out our smartphones constantly? For this, we have plenty of time, right? So, well, there is first of all a sort of some form of self-coaching in that, and for that, for instance, we need to learn to do certain things. For instance, learn to turn off your notifications on the phone. Do that proactively, so that then you have this feeling that your phone is relatively silent. You see, you have the choice whether to enter this content and not let it come to you. So this is one. Second, schedule some friendly reminders via your phone. Use your phone positively and receive these messages. Now it's time for 5 minutes meditation. And again, the beautiful thing is that even just a short visualization or a short breathing practice of being aware of your breathing, incoming and outgoing breathing, even that is enough to begin to experience this kind of relief. So surely we have these 5 minutes, and later, our appetite grows because we are beginning to realize the tremendous effect of even just brief experiences of meditation. Suddenly our whole day is permeated with some silence and stillness within that enables us to be prepared for action. You see, because I think the biggest misconception about meditation is that it helps you to escape life, to escape your life, to move, to leave it behind and to be relieved. But when you begin to understand meditation is a preparation for action. This is your foundation for better, clearer action in life. Then you are beginning to incorporate it into your life because it's a part of your actual life, you see?
And if you're prepared for action and you're standing on the bank and you're not getting caught up in your emotions and all the drama of all of that, then you're going to be more productive in everything.
Oh, yes. I think we don't realize the degree to which our creativity, our happiness, our attention, our ability to respond to life, all these are consumed by the thinking machine. You see, we are just not aware of the fact that we are wasting a tremendous amount of energy on thinking. Now, why do we need thinking at all? You see, do we need it? For instance, if I need to I don't know, to plan for an interview, then of course I use my thinking. If I'm writing a book, I will use my thinking. If I'm talking to you, I will use my thinking. But why do I need to use my thinking all day long, even when I don't need to act? Thinking is only when I'm meant to make decisions, when I need to make certain choices, but not when I'm brushing my teeth or just before I'm going to sleep. Why would I think?
It's a great question. I know I like to think sometimes, I call it the brain train. So, and I do this sometimes not on purpose, but I'll be reading a book, for example, and I see the word snow, and then snow goes to a mountain, and mountain goes to ski, and ski goes to,
right.
So that's my brain train. And sometimes, I might know the answer to this as I talk through it out loud. Sometimes I like the thinking alone to get answers, or
exactly, yes.
I guess I would get that in meditation. If I sat silent, I would get the answers without having to go on a brain train ride or be deliberate, huh?
Oh, what a wonderful statement. Yes, I love it. It's because you are. This is the thing where we think that our best insights come as a result of thinking, but actually our best insights very often come as a result of being silent and being completely receptive and in a way positively empty. You see, not with this feeling of hole in our chest or in our stomach, but the positively empty, positively open and spacious, like the vast open sky.
Okay. 2 thoughts. I know I'm going to forget the second one, but you just did a really nice job. I know why. I know what I have to write it down so I don't think or don't. Okay. So when I talk to my audience, especially when I did more solo shows, you just said empty positivity. So I always talked about having this bucket, and this is where all the trauma and the crap lives, is in this bucket, and we have to scoop it out. And that's kind of like our recovery work. But I've always preached it as we need to fill it with the positive things, like, self-care and meditation and those things, and keep it full so that if someone tries to, put more negative in, we're kind of blocking
protected.
Yeah, but I never really thought about it's okay to be empty, because then you can accept even bigger gifts outside of our own capability of positivity. That's what just happened for me there. So thank you.
Yes, that's good. That's good.
And then the other thing and this I actually practice now. When I lose something, like if I know I need to be present to put something, or I have to put something in the same spot to know where it is. If I misplace something, like say I was looking for my passport or something, a big deal, I can now tell myself, Bobby, stop thinking about where it is. And when I stop thinking about it, I'll figure out where it is later. Like, and just knowing that it always shows up when I don't think about it. So that's what resonated with me when you were talking about why do we need to think.
Right. It's true that there is research that differentiates between meditation and associative thinking. There is a form of associative thinking when we let our minds just flow without any kind of control, that sometimes gives rise to creativity, you see. But so there is a positive type of free-flowing mind. But in general, we need to at least be able to decide whether we are pushing the button, and when we are turning off this thinking machine, and we are simply choosing to not to choose, to just be empty, like the vast open sky, rather than being identified with one passing cloud.
Wow. So what, I have a couple other like random questions, but what are your feelings on transcendental meditation? Is there any, do you have any pros or cons, or does it achieve the same kind of thing? Like, how do you feel about transcendental meditation?
That's interesting that you're bringing this up, because transcendental meditation was my first meditation, my first meditation practice when I was just 21 years old, and actually it was a revolution for me. It is a very good meditation for beginners. First of all, it's a good introduction. Although by now, I'm convinced that there are much cheaper meditation practices out there, that you don't need to actually go through a complete course and pay a lot of money, because mantras, for instance, on which the transcendental meditation is based, are everywhere. So any a good mantra, any effective mantra, and in my book, there are several mantras presented, can do the work, you see. So transcendental meditation is good for beginners, but it also has one benefit, which I use to this day. And that is whenever I want to simply calm my nervous system. Simply calm my nervous system. This will not necessarily transform my mind or lead me to higher states of consciousness or make me understand my mind, but it can help my nervous system to relax profoundly. For this one benefit, I do recommend this meditation.
Love it. And you mentioned your book again, books. I'm curious, when you were writing,
yes,
were you thinking or were you not thinking?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. You see, I differentiate between two uses or two functions of thinking. One is thinking that takes over you, and that is your master, which means that your whole energy is in your head. This is where you are, where your center of gravity is, and thinking at the service of your silence, of your silent mind. Now, thinking as a servant is wonderful. So, I think even your thinking becomes relieved, because it finally doesn't need to function as the master, because it doesn't know how to function as a master to lead the way. So when I write books, I listen. I am receptive. I am just open, and I actually empty my mind, just holding some questions in my mind without looking for answers. And then, of course, I'm researching, I'm gathering information, But the major insights all come from silence, always.
Okay, thank you. I was really curious because you are a researcher, you have
Right.
a PhD, right? So like I'm thinking that you think a certain way. So I appreciate that. So what's the name of your most recent book? Do you want to share that with the audience?
Of course, it's Llewellyn's complete book of meditation. This is this compilation of 35 classical meditations from all over the world, including my own introduction, extensive introduction to how we can deepen and establish our meditative practice.
Perfect. Do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite meditation?
Oh, well, this is changing from time to time. And I think this should be changing from time to time also for everyone else, you see, because every now and then we have a different type of meditation that is most suitable for a certain stage of our development. You see, sometimes my meditation is simply what I call and what has been traditionally called in Buddhism non-meditation. And non-meditation is when you sit and you stop even trying to meditate. you stop trying to do anything. You're not focusing on a particular thing, not mantra, not your breathing, nothing. You're just opening yourself constantly and reaching this point, which is the ultimate effortlessness. So it's total relaxation. And that is mostly my favorite meditation.
Oh, I love that. Shai, is there anything that I forgot to ask you about or touch on that you might want to share? Because I know I kind of bounced all over, but I'm so intrigued.
No, I think this has been such a rich discussion that I cannot think of of a particular thing that is missing.
Beautiful. Well,
perhaps we can. Yes, please.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
Oh, perhaps I could only say this one last word or statement that please do not fear silence. Sometimes we're afraid of silence. Then this is the as a result we're having this kind of screen addiction and other forms of addiction. We are so afraid of being alone in silence without any kind of stimulation. Don't be afraid of it, because actually at the core of silence, at the core of your aloneness, your greatest source of bliss and happiness await you.
I love that. I love that. So much hope. And here's the beautiful thing. It's free. You don't have to pay to go to a place. You could do it anytime, anywhere. What a beautiful gift. And I've talked about meditation a lot on the show, but never with this amount of understanding. Like I have a different sense of understanding after speaking to you. So I wrote down cure for addiction, self-responsibility, and so much good stuff here. So thank you again, Shai. We really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you so much. It's been a great joy speaking to you. Thank you.